Hi, I am Sarah Mehler, CEO of Left Field Labs, and I am thrilled to introduce you Ryan Wilson, Managing Director of Samsung Ads. And you have helped scale in some pretty incredible ways the world of connected TV. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I've been at Samsung Ads for 6 years now, and when I started, it was a very small shop, right? CTV was just beginning to find its legs, and then through COVID, of course, we saw immense growth, not only within TVs being bought, because everyone was locked up and needed something to do, but also within our streaming service, our fast service, Samsung TV Plus. And we've seen immense growth not only in the content, but also usage. We're up 30% year over year in terms of active users, which is fantastic. And I think the power of data has really what has spearheaded this growth. And not just for us, right? Across the entire ecosystem of CTV. And we're starting to get to a point where we're here in Cannes, and CTV is no longer the new thing on the block, right? It is now part of every media plan, as it should be.
Yes, here we are at the world's largest creative festival and gathering, and yet the conversation has really become about data.
Right.
Do you think data is the new brief?
Yeah, I think, at Samsung Ads, we look at data as kind of the launching pad for creativity. And it unlocks insights for us in a way that truly opens new ways of thinking, right? So when we think about the insights and what they're unlocking, it's not necessarily just in the form of data, right? And just in the form of where someone is or what someone is consuming. I think it takes it a step deeper than that, which is important because for advertisers, it's no longer just about reach, it's also about relevancy. And when you come to Samsung Ads and the data that we have, it allows for you as an advertiser to tell an audience-first storytelling and reach your audiences in the right moment at the right time, in the right context.
Everyone is talking about creators at Cannes this year, and now we see celebrities, influencers owning their own content. How do you think this will disrupt the landscape?
Yeah, so I think it's definitely at a fever pitch right now, and we started investing within TV Plus for creator content going back 2 or 3 years. It started with Conan O'Brien, expanded to David Letterman, and then this year we made some big announcements at our New Front event with a couple of big names, Mark Rober being a big one, Michelle Correa is another. But what you're starting to see is that these creators have built these immense foundations, right, in a digital world. But now what Samsung is offering to these partners is a new way and a stage, if you will, to reach consumers on the biggest screen in the home. And in doing so, it's an opportunity for them to build an ecosystem of ability to connect, ability to storytell, and more importantly for them, monetize. And it's also opening up doors and avenues for advertisers as well to find new ways to reach and engage their audiences. As I mentioned before, it's not just about reach anymore, it's about relevancy. And if you can find your audience in those relevant moments, that's what's gonna win for advertisers.
So tell me, Ryan, where do you see the biggest opportunities to capture live TV engagement, and how do you see that shifting?
Yeah, so I think this goes back to the data and the insights, right? Again, it's more about where consumers are engaging, right, as opposed to just simply finding users, right? I don't think anyone necessarily has a problem with reach at this point. It's more about that targeted and relevant reach. And when we think about live TV, right, there's nothing more powerful than when you turn on your Samsung TV and there's an opportunity for you to be right there on the home screen. That is a huge opportunity for storytelling. It's a huge opportunity for brand awareness. But more importantly, when you pair that with your typical standard ad formats, you're in a position where you can actually drive consumers through the consumer journey, and it starts on the home screen and extends into TV Plus. And more importantly, I think there's a ton of innovation that comes from insights as well, right? So you start to think about some of the products that we've released with game breaks and shopper breaks, right? Really bringing engagement into the conversation. And for advertisers, being in a position where you are able to engage and move that consumer without having to have them get off the couch, which I think is the most compelling aspect. But further is, this idea and this transformation of the standard traditional ad unit into a more engaging experience, right? Immersive, innovative experiences such as game breaks. And lastly, I'll just say that I think there's a big shift in conversation, and the conversations that I've had so far here and even back in the US is all about how do I enhance my reach, right? And for advertisers leveraging our insights, it's not necessarily about reach. It's really about transforming and thinking about how attention is impacting business outcomes.
And I think you touched on, engagement in terms of what is meaningful engagement to our audiences also. Can you talk a little bit about your perspective there?
Yeah, so, I think, again, with some of the creators that we've partnered with, right, there's immense opportunity to reach your audiences in a different way, right? Historically, advertisers will just go with their standard third-party targeting, right, moms with cars, moms with kids, something along those lines. Whereas now they can actually immerse themselves into content that is driven around and for moms with kids, right? And that context expands the opportunity for reach and brings reach to the forefront. And it's not just, I reached 10 million people, I reached the most important people that I could.
Now I'd like to address the elephant in the room, which is AI, and where do you see the biggest opportunities there for audience insight, creative decisions, and how is that changing in a rapidly evolving landscape?
Yeah, I think, the notion historically was, especially in CTV, right? You had historical, traditional linear buyers, right? And everything was about demographic, right? And just trying to find my audiences. But the power of CTV and the data from the digital aspect of it allows for you to have more meaningful targeting. And when partnering with Samsung, you have the opportunity to have better engagement, but more importantly, understanding of how consumers are engaging with content, right? Where is someone and how are they consuming content? How is a brand engaging with a consumer throughout the consumer journey, right? And when you couple all of that, it allows for us to build AI, machine learning audience segments that are a combination of everything just mentioned. It is taking in viewer behavior and data. It's taking in ad exposures, which is incredibly important. But more importantly is when we take first-party data from partners like yourself and use that as machine learning to go and find new audiences. And we've done that with our Optimal Reach product, which is on average seeing about 30% incremental reach from just standard third-party segments and driving greater business outcomes and also driving more engagement for users in the right moment.
Oh, significant metrics.
Yes.
Wow, amazing. So last question as we wrap up, how do you stay inspired in a rapidly evolving industry? And is there anything that you've seen at Cannes this week so far that has inspired your go-forward decisions and planning?
Yeah, so I think, just in conversations this week and, being on panels and seeing all the conversation, especially around creators. And I really think that's something that is inspiring for me. My kids, they'll watch, certain content that is creator-based, right? And, it's not necessarily just turning on, the traditional television programs like Bluey and stuff like that, right? It's really, it's a way for us to connect as well, right? And in a way that, we're being educated, we're learning together on certain things, depending on the programming you watch. But more importantly, I think is, as we are rolling out, our content partnerships, but some of these newer products that are based on AI, as we discussed, and really leaning into insights to drive performance and business outcomes. And ultimately, for me, is, like I said, the transformation of traditional ads into really smart, strategic, engaging ad experiences.
Wow, thank you. This has been a wonderful conversation. I really appreciate your insights.
Absolutely, thank you.